What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back into JC's Pop Culture with me, JC, where you can see all kinds of pop culture content. Could be anything from trailer reactions to movie news or what we have today. Another EA Sports College Football 25 update. We've got some positive news on the opt-ins. Almost 90% of the what we believe to be completed roster has already opted into the game. Got an update on that from EA Sports yesterday. Also had another good leak from one of the commentators, Kevin Connors, leaking a potential script for what looks to be like some rivalries in the game, maybe some intros and shit for that. So we're going to take a look at that. And then we also have our news of our first major opt-out potentially that looks like we'll be holding out and not being on EA Sports College Football 25. And if you're a fan of the Texas Longhorns, you're going to want to stick around to hear about that later in the video. But that being said, let's get into it, leading off here with the leaked script from Kevin Connors that he shared here on social media. So if you've been following along here on our EA Sports College Football updates on the channel, I'll put a card for the playlist right here. You can go back and watch them if you haven't already. But as we've been covering this shit, obviously 7 commentators have been confirmed. One of those is Kevin Connors. We had the leaked video from Chris Fowler last week. This week, Kevin Connors shared this on social media yesterday saying, and that's a wrap, apparently announcing, that he's finished recording all of his lines for the EA Sports College Football 25 game. He shows his setup there. You see his camera, his laptop. But then if you look here on the laptop closer, and this is what everyone's been excited about, you can see the script for what looks to be some rivalry games. Potentially, maybe he's announcing, the intros going into these games and shit. You see Army Navy there. You see Alabama Auburn. So obviously he's sharing a little bit of this, what looks to be a Google Doc or some type of Word document from EA Sports, obviously presenting him the script for him to go over these lines. I'm sure he's done hours and hours of this, just like Chris Fowler talked about. So when I'm editing this video, I'll try and put a closer look at the script up to the screen so you guys can try and read the portion of it that is actually legible. It's cut off a little bit on the side, so you won't really be able to read the whole thing, but you can kind of get the gist of it. If you're an Alabama fan or an Auburn fan, let me know your thoughts on the script. I've seen some people say, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. Some people hating on the terminology that they're using. Some Auburn fans, I don't think, like being called War Eagle fans and shit like that. So who knows? But hopefully everything that they go with script-wise plays out well in the game when we see it, in practicality and practice on EA Sports College Football 25. But exciting news yet again from another commentator as Kevin Connors shares this with us as he has wrapped up recording his lines for the upcoming game releasing here in just a few short months now. So that's a pretty positive update there from Kevin Connors that'll probably excite you. But this one right here, this shit might excite you even more for this upcoming game, because I know a lot of talk was wondering who's going to opt out of the game. Are there going to be people that are going to opt in fast enough? Are these college kids going to be on it before the deadline, which we know is, coming up April 30th. So just, a month or so away. But it's been less than 2 weeks, I believe, since they first put these out. And EA Sports shares this update yesterday, notifying everyone that 10,000 plus athletes have already opted in to be included in EA Sports College Football 25. And this is fucking big, guys, because if you remember back when I think Matt Brown was talking about, how many players' likenesses they were going to include in the game, it was like 11,100, something like that. So obviously the biggest, endeavor of including player likenesses that any sports games ever achieved is going to be happening here with EA Sports College Football 25. But obviously the first step to that is having the opt-ins. I'm sure they've had some of these likenesses ready, so once the player opts in, they can go ahead, insert them onto the game. But 10,000 already, so you're thinking 85-90% of the full roster that we would expect to have for each of these universities is already opted into the game, because it was a total of over 11,000. They've already have 10,000 of that opted in. So very positive news roster-wise for the players that we're going to have featured on this game, the player likenesses that are going to be included. They wanted to have 85 scholarship players for each team potentially, and looks like they're going to be able to do that for pretty much everyone, as we have not had any news about opt-outs before this came out, because not long after that, we did get some news on the first opt-out, and we can dive in on that here to close out the video. But before I get to that, I want to remind you guys, if you're into EA Sports College Football 25, I'm going to be updating all the news in the lead up to the release of that game in July. So be sure to subscribe here to JC's Pop Culture, where we're also talking movies and TV shows, especially superhero, comedy, horror. All that shit's right up my alley. So if it sounds like it's up your alley as well, hop along here for the ride at JC's Pop Culture by hitting the subscribe button. And if you made it this far in the video and you're enjoying the content, hit the thumbs up button. Helps a shit ton with the YouTube algorithm as well. That being said, let's talk about the news of the first major opt-out that we know of for EA Sports College Football 25. Texas fans, you may want to shield your eyes for this one, because I know it's, a fan favorite, I believe, there in Arch Manning. He is not going to be in EA Sports College Football 25, according to recent reports. This article that I'm sharing on the screen here is coming from On3, but the original report came from Anwar Richardson of Orange Bloods. Manning will not be in EA Sports College Football 25. Instead, the main focus for the Texas second-year quarterback is continuing his on-field development. The original source here says, multiple people have told me that Texas redshirt quarterback Arch Manning will not opt into EA Sports College Football 25. I'm told Arch is focused on playing football on the field. That's what Anwar Richardson said via X there. You can find that on Twitter. But this, to me, doesn't make any damn sense for the reasoning, okay? Because he's, wants to focus on playing football on the field, fine. What does opted into the game do to prohibit that? Absolutely damn nothing. I mean, if you think about it, he could opt into the game, be included on the game. That doesn't mean he has to play the game. They're going to give him a free copy, but he doesn't have to play it. You can put it on the shelf and never use it. I know he obviously doesn't need the $600. He's a Manning, but the reasoning that he's given here makes no fucking sense to me. He's probably got a lot of people that are fans of him, especially Texas Longhorn fans that would love to play with him on the game. And I don't know if he realizes now they're not going to be able to do that. Not only will his likeness not be on the game, obviously, but they're not going to be able to create him. Once they use up Quinn Ewers, they're going to have to go to somebody else as the backup. So, he's in a lot of ways, I would say that this is kind of alienating him or making him out to be a villain to Texas fans. Maybe, I know that's how I would feel if it was a WVU player that I'm a fan of WVU football. If it was for me, that's how I'd feel, especially if it was a big name that I was looking forward to playing with on the game. So don't really understand this decision 100%, but it is what it is. Wanted to report on it here because it is a big name, and I know a lot of people have been worried about opt-outs. So we pretty much have overall positive news in that light, because over 10,000 opt-ins, so 90% of what EA Sports is hoping for has already done it, and there's still over a month, almost 2 months until they have the deadline there on April 30th. So I think overall it's positive news, unless you're a fan of the Texas Longhorns. Then it's a little bit more negative, as it appears Arch Manning won't be in the game. But I think overall in this update, majorly positive news. You get, Kevin Connors finished recording his lines, you get a look at a potential script leak there, and you hear that a shit ton of student athletes have already opted into this game. 90+% of what they were expecting to have for the opt-ins have already done so. So super exciting news on my end. I'm ready for this game to come out. July can't get here soon enough. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you're someone that feels the same way, so be sure to subscribe here. More news coming in the near future, and also going to be talking a ton of movies and TV shows, superhero, comedy, horror, all that's right up my alley. So if it sounds like it's up your alley as well, subscribe right here to JC's Pop Culture. We'll be talking all that pop culture content and more here on the channel. Hit the thumbs up button before you head out. Helps a shit ton. If you're a Texas fan, let me know how you feel about Arch Manning opting out of the game in the comments. Are you super upset with Arch, or how do you feel about that? Or if you want to share your thoughts on any of the news shared in this video, really appreciate those interactions as well here on the channel. Having said that, I appreciate you tuning into this one, and I'll catch you on the next one.